Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Pablo, and welcome back to GG Sports. I'm bringing you guys another episode of the Pelicans realistic rebuild here in NBA 2K19. And in this episode, we have a lot to get into. There's a trade, a very, very good game that comes down to the wire, and then we just have a recap of the All-Star weekend coming up. And then after that, we will be getting into a trade. So there are a couple of Pelicans who will be on the move, so you definitely want to stay tuned. But before we go any further, I want to remind you guys to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. And go ahead and hit that bell icon below the video so you stay notified every time I drop another one of these videos. But before we review the trade, I'm going to show you guys the box scores from the events of the All-Star weekend, just the Rising Stars game and then the All-Star game itself, Team Giannis versus Team LeBron. And this year it looks like it was Russell Westbrook, LeBron, and Kyrie who led Team LeBron over Team Giannis and came out with the W. We didn't have any All-Stars, so I really was not concerned with All-Star weekend. The more important event that came around mid-season would be the trade deadline, where I was motivated to go ahead and call up the Miami Heat and pretty much just gauge their interest in E'Twaun Moore and Robert Williams. And they are making a playoff push, so they could use the shooting that E'Twaun Moore would provide. But he's an expiring deal, so I decided maybe it's a good time to move E'Twaun Moore. His minutes have been taken up by Marcus Smart, Pat Beverly, and Darius Garland, so there's not a lot of guard minutes, and I didn't ever really like E'Twaun Moore playing the 3, so I wanted to go ahead and move him to a team that could use his shooting. Right now the Heat have Brandon Knight starting at the 2 guard, so they could use a backup or even a starter. So I decided to try to get future draft capital, where you guys see I'm getting a first and second round pick. The first comes in 2023, and then we're getting Kelly Olynyk, a stretch 5. Some call him a 4. I think he's listed as a 4, but I play him at the 5, and I think he'll do a great job providing space for Zion Williamson. And they do accept that trade, and we're just going to take a quick look at his debut after the trade. On 22 minutes, finished with 9 and 8 for Kelly Olynyk. But the most important part is that we got E'Twaun Moore, a player who didn't crack the rotation. We got him out of there where he can get some minutes, and then we also got future draft capital in return. But we did give away Robert Williams, a player who also was not getting very minutes, but with the success that Bol has had, I don't think Robert Williams ever was going to be in the long-term plans of David Griffin and the New Orleans Pelicans, so he was moved. But it was a pretty quiet trade deadline around the league. You did, however, see Brandon Ingram on the move to the Utah Jazz in exchange for Joe Ingles and a first-round pick in the upcoming draft. So LeBron gets a shooter, and the Lakers offload the expiring contract of Brandon Ingram. And that was the biggest move that came right before the trade deadline. But we are now getting into the great game that I told you guys about earlier. The Pelicans are 33-25, and so are the Los Angeles Clippers. We'll be playing against them in this episode. They have signed Jimmy Butler, D'Angelo Russell, as well as Dwayne Dedmon and some other players, but they maintain their core of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Williams is still there, Danilo Gallinari, and Montrezl Harrell. So this is a very deep team out in LA. So they had 2 max spots. They did use them on Jimmy Butler and D'Angelo Russell. So this team, like I said, is scary. It's surprising that they're only 33-25. You would anticipate that they're a lot better, especially after signing Jimmy Butler and D'Angelo Russell. But we do have a new player that you guys are going to see first gameplay of, and that's Kelly Olynyk. He's a player who's being paid $13 million this season and has a player option next season. So he may be on the Pelicans books next year, but hopefully he can showcase why we traded for him. We really just need someone who can stretch the floor. Bol, like I may have mentioned earlier, still has some holes in his game, still has some things he needs to refine. So I'm not thinking he's ready to start, not yet anyway. And Kelly Olynyk will do a good job filling in until Bol is ready. And if he declines his player option next year, that's just fine, as Zion throws down a nasty oop from Drew Holiday. And these guys are poetry in motion at this point in the season in transition, because they have built that chemistry. So look for Zion to be set up with a lot more looks than you may have seen him set up with earlier in the season. So stay tuned. But just a little bit more on the Olynyk trade. Miami, they were more than willing to come off of Olynyk just due to his salary. Like I said, he's making almost $14 million this year and can opt into that next year. So I'm sure they wanted no parts of that, which is probably the reason they were willing to give up the draft capital. And they also get a young center in return, a young big Robert Williams, who has shown flashes in the league, especially with us this season. So I think they feel pretty good about the trade. So do we. We offload Etuan Moore and also get draft capital in return. Although it is a couple of years away, we still do get a first round pick, and who knows what that may be for the Miami Heat in 2023. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I like the fact that we were able to build up some future assets that we could use in a deal if we decide to make some trades and try to win right now. But my only concern about Kelly Olynyk is if he'll be able to play fast with the Pelicans, with Zion, Tatum, Drew Holiday. They've been playing really fast this season, so I'm sure it will be a bit of an adjustment for Kelly Olynyk. So we definitely want to pick up a more athletic 5 in the offseason. That will probably be our biggest concern in the offseason, getting a center who can either get out and play fast or stretch the floor, because Jahlil Okafor, although he's very skilled, I like what he's been able to do. Because he's not the best shooter and he's not the best rim protector and he's not very athletic, I don't think he's the ideal fit for Zion Williamson. So we likely won't be re-signing Jahlil Okafor next season, but it still remains to be seen. There's a lot of time left. If we make the playoffs, he'll have even more time to prove himself, so don't quote me on that. But now let's finally get into the game. You haven't missed too much. There have been some highlight plays, but it has been neck and neck so far. Zion Williamson and Drew Holiday have completely taken over this game. They've stepped up to the challenge and are trying their best to secure a W here on the road for the Pelicans. And Zion cutting toward the basket. That has to be at least his 6th or 7th dunk, and this would be the 8th in transition. Zion flies in for the two-handed tomahawk flush, and Zion has been very, very impressive in transition. And when you see a 280 forward coming your way, you kind of just get out of the way. And it seems like NBA defenders have learned that throughout the course of this year, because it's just getting easier and easier for Zion this season, and he is leading Rookie of the Year voting right now. So definitely stay tuned for that. He's having a very impressive season. But here's Jimmy Butler staying with the play after the tip pass, a little bit of luck on his side, recovers it and finishes with a lay-in. And it is still a very close game heading into halftime as D. Loden just knocks down the three-point shot. We are trailing 64-59 going into half, and we haven't been able to defend this team too well. D'Angelo Russell and Lou Williams are going off. Jimmy Butler has been pretty quiet for the first half, but I believe he'll be ramping it up as he is known as the closer, so we have to keep an eye on him and hopefully defend him well, especially when the fourth quarter comes around. So we have to keep an eye on him. But Zion does finish another oop from Drew Holiday. But on the other end, D. Loden just crosses Darius Garland and knocks down the open three-point shot as a result. But Jimmy Butler cannot do anything with Zion in the paint. He backs him down under the rim, gets perfect position to finish with a standing dunk, and one, goes to the line and converts it as well. Jimmy Butler, like I said, just couldn't do anything. I don't know who left him down there. Definitely should have had some help from his teammates if he was there alone with Zion. But here's another oop to Zion, showing some touch this time. And we're going to another one. Zion is running. He is out in transition, and the Clippers have no answer for him on the break. And the chemistry, like I keep mentioning, that they show is only going to make it easier for Zion to get his numbers. and to be effective. He's also very efficient in this game so far, so hopefully he can keep it up. We have not heard too much from Jason Tatum in this one, but he does knock down the 3-point shot. And in all fairness, Zion Williamson has completely taken over this game, so we haven't needed too much of Jason Tatum. But Bol gets involved as he slashes his way down the lane and finishes with a ferocious slam. And Lou Williams wide open from the corner. That's money every time, and they have all of a sudden pushed this lead to 12 points, and the Clippers have taken over. But Zion goes down and he is slapping the floor in anger. It seems like he already knows it's a serious injury. The Pelicans call a timeout, and this is not good. This puts panic in the minds of all Pelicans fans and the coaching staff, his teammates, everybody, because Zion has been killing it this year. Like I said, he is currently the leader in Rookie of the Year voting, but there you see he just kind of bumps Dwayne Dedmon, drops the ball mid-play, and he's writhing in pain, and he is able to walk off of the floor with the help of Darius Garland and Drew Holiday. But you never know what can happen, and you never want to see that for your #1 overall pick. I'm sorry, #2 in this actual My League. But I will have more details on the injury at the conclusion of the episode to let you know how long Zion will be out. I'll disclose that after the game. Let's focus on trying to get the W here on the road. And Drew Holiday is in full effect. He has taken over since Zion went out. The Pelicans are now down by 6 points after being down by 14. And make that 2 points as Jimmy Butler steps back. And he is the closer. He wants the ball in his hands. With over 3 minutes to go, we are down by 4 points. Jason Tatum, we're going to him. He finishes with a filthy slam over Danilo Gallinari. I don't know why he was foolish enough to jump, but Jason Tatum does make him pay. But Lou Williams coming off of the screen, creating some space, knocking down a 3-point shot, gets it again, knocks down another one. So back-to-back threes by Lou Williams actually make this game much more harder to win for the Pelicans. But Bol does respond with a 3 of his own. Then he comes down and denies Montrezl Harrell at the rim. Drew Holiday kicking it out to Pat Bev for 3, and he knocks it down. We are now only down by 2 points. Let's take another look at this play. Bol. That is why we're excited for him as a rim protector. He denies Montrezl Harrell, and we get 3 points out of it. But we cannot defend Jimmy Butler as he knocks down a mid-range shot and increases their lead to 4. Here's Jason Tatum converting the offensive rebound to points, and with under a minute to go, the Pelicans are down by 2. Pull up, wide open mid-range shot by Jason Tatum will not go down. We foul to stop the break. And we need a stop on Jimmy Butler right now. He has really been effective here in the fourth and continues to dominate Jason Tatum as he knocks down a shot there. And with under 30 seconds to go, that would actually be enough. The Pelicans came down, couldn't get a basket, and the Clippers would win this game at home at the Staples Center versus the New Orleans Pelicans by a final score of 136-129. And let me just start by saying I thoroughly believe if we had Zion the whole entire game, we would have won this one on the road versus a very, very quality Western Conference opponent. But instead, Zion goes down in the third quarter after putting up 32 points. So he was well on track to shatter his career high in scoring of 37 in this game, but he did go out with an ankle injury. But luckily it was just a sprained ankle. He will miss 1 to 2 weeks, so he'll likely end up missing around 10 days. He'll be back for the Pelicans, but as we're here in the home stretch in the final 30 games of the season, every game, every day counts, so we can't have Zion missing too many. So it'll still be tough for this Pelicans team to try to make the playoffs, and I think they definitely have the objective of making the playoffs after making the trade for Olynyk. But there is a lot that needs to happen for the Pelicans to remain in the playoff picture, especially with Zion missing time. And by the way, you will only see one more regular season game before we move on to the season recap. And if the Pelicans make the playoffs, then you'll see playoff footage. If not, we'll head straight into the offseason and try to retool this team for another run next year. But in this game versus the Clippers, we fall out by a final score of 136-129. Zion and Drew Holiday both scored 32 points. The difference is Zion scored his on 20 minutes, 9 rebounds and assists on 15 of 18 shooting. Zion was going off before he got hurt, but Jason Tatum, not enough from him on 30 minutes, 14 points, 5 assists, 5 boards, not enough from Garland either. But when you look at the other side, you saw Jimmy Butler, D'Angelo Russell, and Lou Williams all score over 20 points, and Jimmy Butler was quiet through the first 3 but really closed the Pelicans out. But in the next episode, you guys will see us play against the Denver Nuggets, which will be the final game of the 82 game season with heavy playoff implications. The Pelicans will be fighting for the 7th and 8th spot. I'll have more on that in the next episode. You guys do not want to miss it, and I'll see you guys in that one. Peace.